With the music by Leonard.
This is your hold music for this evening. If you would like to speak to a human operator, press 1 now.
Perfect.
That's as good as my dancing gets, by the way. Caroline can attest to this. Hello, everybody. We are live, but we're going to get started properly in a couple of minutes' time. We're just letting everyone get settled. Of course, as always, the Q&A section on the YouTube should be up and running, so please do jump in on that. If there's anything you want to talk about. The main topics for today are going to be where I've been, where I have managed to get the name right all weekend, apart from the final panel of today, where I called it MCon, and it's not. It's EMCon. So, yeah, see, there's Mark shaking his head furiously. Yeah, we're going to be talking about my time at MCon, or EMCon, here in Nottingham. See? You see? It's been a long weekend. We're also going to be talking
for many reasons.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about New York Comic-Con ticket sales that took place yesterday. We're going to be talking about Hotelpocalypse, which took place this week, which was so much fun. We are going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Myself and Mark do some... Spoiler-free, we're going to be talking about our impressions of said film. What else? I'm sure there's more. We'll get into it.
I think Mark's book is coming up.
Oh, good God, no,
too.
we're not going to... No, why? We're not even going to bother. No, because
Right.
it's just... Because frankly,
thanks,
the man's ego does not need massaging anymore.
600 pages. 600
If there's an
pages,
ego
Mark.
going to be massaged on this show, it's mine.
I don't get
It's
a
called an Englishman in San Diego. It's my bloody... No, okay.
Well, there is that. And we
There
are
we go.
at 59 minutes, so
Yep.
the show will be starting momentarily.
Cool.
And,
Is the people jumping in on the Q&A? I can't actually see the Q&A at this point, so...
and people are, we've got Michael P., good morning. Andrew English is here also. And we have Graham Small is joining us, saying good evening. And Craig Lindis from South Dakota.
Bit of a tease for 2 weeks' time. We're actually going to be speaking to Craig. He's going to be joining us from s04e37, which is in Sioux Falls. It's a small, intimate convention, which is taking place in 2 weeks' time. And Craig's going to be doing us a live report from that event. He's also going to be getting the, I believe, the talent coordinator for the show live on. So we're going to be getting a live report. Looking forward to that.
That sounds
And
wonderful.
next week we're going to be speaking to Christopher Butcher, who's the guy behind Toronto Comic Art Festival, TCAF, which is another great show, which I'd love to go to. That'd be fantastic. Right, I think we can pretty much crack on, can't we?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, welcome to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and each week we talk comic conventions, San Diego Comic-Con, and all the stuff and nonsense that takes place at these wonderful celebrations of pop culture that we flock to each and every week. By the looks of things, there's always something going on in the world of pop culture. You join me at Nottingham Arena here in the UK, where they are currently, as you can see in the background, breaking down from this week's EMCon, which is a pop culture celebration here in Nottingham. Very much a canny titled event, because it isn't a Comic-Con as such, because it while it does have some comic creators here, it very much does concentrate on the film and television and the general bits and pieces of the con culture landscape. So lots of fun people to speak to. I was very lucky to be invited as the Q&A panel host for this year. It's the first time I've actually done something like this, and for about four and a bit hours, I was joined in the gracious company of, we had a couple of cast members from the 100, Sasha Sahal, and I can never remember her surname. I think it's Louisa Delaveria, I believe. We're also joined by the cast of Red Dwarf. So Chris Barry, Danny John Jules, and Norman Levitt and Hattie Hastridge, which was always fun. We had a great panel from somebody who doesn't come to UK cons that often. I understand she's appearing at a number of US cons. This is Bonnie Wright from the cast of Harry Potter. She's LA based now, so it's very rare that she actually comes over to do a UK con. So it was really fun to actually have her on a panel on her own and just talking about her time and experiences on Harry Potter. We also had a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers panel with David Yost and Walter Jones, and the excellent Paul Freeman, who I could have quite easily have had a panel all on his own. Just talk to him about Edgar Wright and Steven Spielberg for a full half hour, but no, we had to talk about Power Rangers. Damn it. So there we go. That was a lot of fun. And what else was there? There was one more. Legends of Tomorrow. Yes, of course. With Casper Crump and Arthur Darvill, which, quite frankly, it was a case of just winding them up and letting them go. They were just really good fun to just let them bounce off each other. Top blokes and really good fun. But that's what I've been doing this weekend, and it's just been a lot of fun. I have my gorgeous wife, Caroline.
Gorgeous.
Yes, gorgeous.
Rough looking.
Rough looking. Purely because everybody, if you'd like to wish her a very happy birthday, it's Caroline's birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Everyone now has to sing happy birthday.
No, you don't.
No,
Go. 1, 2, 3.
no, no. Must we?
Let me down. You have failed this city.
Oh,
Anyway, so what has been your take on EMCon this weekend? I mean, you've had a more.
You want my actual take?
Yeah, well, you've seen more of it, really.
It's a very laid back, very relaxed con. It's been really nice, and you can just wander around and you can just chat to people. The sign-in desks and everything was over in a nice little corner. Not I say corner, the entire section. And you could just walk around and chat to them. I did for hours, just stand there chatting with them. Especially today. Yesterday I did a little bit like that, but it was really good. All of them a great bunch, and I tell you what, the people that have volunteered, well, the staff, the crew and that, absolutely unbelievable. They are superb. They are one of the best crews I've actually seen, I must admit.
So yeah, top-notch event. Very, very
really good.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to this weekend. So right,
we have
let's
a
see
number
what's,
of happy birthday wishes for Caroline from Scott, Andrew English, Sam Payne, Michael P, Sarita P, Graham Small, if I didn't say that before. So you are indeed loved, Caroline, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So yes,
I'm
excellent
looking,
stuff. No, really,
I'm looking
that, sorry?
behind you, and they're tearing that down quite fast. How many booths were there? Do you know, on the floor?
how many stalls? Now, let's do the math. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 12.
They varied in size.
Yeah.
But you had
12,
down the back row.
So 48 on a row times 3.
Mm-hmm.
So a fair few.
6 rows.
Yeah, 150.
It was very much
200.
more. Sorry?
You had
150 to 200 then.
Yeah.
roughly, yeah.
Yeah. But very much anything from Funkos, jewelry, T-shirts, the
retro collectible cards,
collectibles.
things like that. You had a book stand with I personally bought the Battlestar Galactica Vault, which I can't wait to actually read that later on. I'm looking forward to reading that. They also had like an Alice in Wonderland themed booth that had shower gels and scented candles and linen spray.
Make you smaller, make you higher.
They had like Parma Violet, like scented things and strawberry laces. Very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of charity work this weekend.
Yes, it has.
A lot of charity work. The Superheroes for Hire, they were here all weekend, full on costume, and they were out in force. You had Daleks, you had Cybermen. You had
Doctor
Disney
Who's,
princesses. You had what else? There was some really
Wonder
good
Woman,
ones. Wonder
all
Woman,
the
yeah.
DC and the Marvel
All of
guys.
them.
Yeah.
And they were all raising money for cancer research. They were.
A lot of cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I think it's just wrapping up upstairs. After my panel, they also had a cosplay competition that's been taken. So they're doing a little bit of masquerade. So it's across the board when it comes to this event.
Cosplay, there's been some really good cosplay. I've taken.
How many?
I took photos yesterday. I didn't take photos today.
How many people attended? Do you have any sense of how large it is?
I actually found that out yet.
No, that's Lee Wallace, who's the gentleman who behind the event. That's probably the best person to ask, and I'll try my best to get an answer to that at some point. But
it seems.
I'd say conservatively about 5,000.
Okay, so
give or take, obviously.
But it's a local. It's a local run con as opposed to being one of your bigger.
Yeah, this is.
Well, EMCon are becoming more of a national event as well, because they are doing events in Glasgow, in Leicester, Skegness as well. So they are developing events around the country. But I believe this is their home port, as it were. Yeah. I think Mark will be able to back me up on this one, because he's actually interviewed a couple of the guys behind.
It seems as though before we get into that it's not so much of a fan pop, a fan con. It's more of a geek culture con.
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
Which is nice to see. So, Mark, you interviewed the organizer.
Yeah, well, I don't know if people know this, but I'm actually from Nottingham originally, so that is my home city. That venue there, I have been to many, many times, and I have to say, I'm getting a little bit homesick.
Yeah, for the tweenies, for Disney on Ice. I understand he's been here for that. Torval and Dean,
Yeah. So no, that's my home city there. So it's great to see Lee doing so well. I remember when he first started out, and he was getting the cast of Red Dwarf in a room above a pub, and yet this was maybe 6-7 years ago, and now look at them. I mean, they're a force to be expanding, basically, which is great for them. And they're lovely guys as well. I couldn't be more happy for them, really. And obviously, Leonard can attest to how well it's being run as well.
The crew of this thing is impressive.
I think I like the fact that they're mainly family. They all seem to be related. Everybody that kind of runs the place just seems to be related, and I love that. That's brilliant. Family run con it's
so
the way forward. I think.
Did I hear her say that she loved the bar? And wasn't there some reference earlier to not looking well? So can I say that you celebrated your birthday last night at the bar?
She indulged.
I indulged quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Okay.
I was
there you
fairly
go.
drunk.
Yeah, that's
fairly drunk.
I
my
wish
mother
I was...
turned around to me and said, have a drink, just drink what you drank last night, just one drink, and that'll cure you. And I was like, right, okay, which one did I drink last night that can actually cure this? Because there was a lot.
And the thing
is, it was a rookie error.
It was a rookie error, purely because there is actually the crew meetup very shortly indeed, around 8 o'clock this evening. So at some point, we're going to have to try and kind of represent there.
I'm
I don't know.
very happy that I feel human again.
How many?
This is my favorite thing.
How many?
What's that, Alyssa?
How many EM cons are there around Britain?
At the moment, like I said, I think there's about 4 or 5. I mean, I know coming up there's Leicester. There's I'd have to check the actual diary, because the larger events from EMCon, they've actually asked me if I would be their resident panel host. So it looks like this could be a regular gig. So that could be a lot of fun. But I've got to find out when the next sort of like arena-based one is going to be, or the next larger venue kind, because they also do a slightly smaller, say, sports centers kind of events. So I'll have to look into that and get back to you. But there we go. Right. So no, definitely when it comes to EMCon, thumbs up, and we've just had an absolute blast.
It's been awesome this weekend. I must have. I think if I tag along to one of Leonard's other ones, I might ask him to turn around and say, okay, put me to work, find me something to do, because I feel like I'm loose.
Although,
Like,
admittedly,
like, okay.
she has been enjoying the green room. So she's been taking a bit of time in there and just starting and having random celebrities talk to her and say hi, and she's been
It's not random, it's just random conversation.
Yeah. So someo's been making lots of friends this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You should
Yes.
write about that.
Actually referring
Leonard's
to
blog.
the cast of Red Dwarf as Chris and Danny and Norman, like, it was a bit of a weird little thing for me, to be honest.
Friend to the stars.
Especially with the conversations that we were having, they were just really random.
I'm the bloke. I'm the professional. I am Caroline's husband. She's the superstar.
That works. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But speaking of friends,
that's been a lot of fun.
Speaking of friends, I don't think we've actually introduced Mark and Mike.
No, we haven't. I had kind of noticed that. I did notice that.
So this is the segue into introducing. First, we're going to go to Mike. Who has participated in the New York Comic-Con ticket sales and knows quite a few of the people. So I just how's your week been, Mike?
Well, it's been a rough 2 weeks. We were obviously at Star Wars Celebration 2 weeks ago. That was a lot of fun, tiring. Then I had a business conference this week where I was, away. But we also had Hotel Sale on Wednesday, not just New York Comic-Con sale. There was Hotel Sale, which I participated in. And then this past Saturday was the New York Comic-Con pre-sale. So It's been a busy few weeks. And there was a small show I actually went to on Thursday. It's called TTPM. And it's kind of like a small toy fair, very, very small one-room show, but it's just showcasing some new toys that got released, that will be released shortly. So that was fun.
I look forward to hearing your view on the New York ticket sale and Hotelpocalypse.
Yeah,
we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail later on. The next person I wanted to introduce was Mark, who has a special announcement, Mark Searby, and you can certainly do your website and your Amazon link and go for it, Mark, with your wonderful book that is 600 pages.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't know, because I've been tweeting it a lot over the weekend, I'm so excited to announce that I have a book coming out. It is about the legendary actor Al Pacino. It's called Al Pacino, The Movies Behind the Man. It is a hugely in-depth book. It is basically, as Alyssa said, nearly 600 pages. It takes you through the pre-production of the films, the inception, the filming locations, box office reviews, critical reviews. I've written critical analysis of every single film as well. So it is basically the ultimate insider's guide to Al Pacino. So if you're a fan, or even if you're a fan of just a couple of his films, this is the book that will tell you everything about him. And not only does it include that, so not only is it massive with each film chapter, I've got an interview with at least one person from every single film that he's worked on. So basically on that, in the book, we've got people like, people will know like Stephen Bauer, who was his co-star Manny in Scarface. We've got playwright Israel Horovitz. I've got photographer turned iconic director Jerry Schatzberg. Most people will know comedian Jay Moore. He's got a lot to say. And very funnily, when I interviewed him at 1 a.m. UK time, he did his interview with me as Al Pacino. So all of his replies back to me were in his Al Pacino impression, which was very off-putting, but very, very funny. Also in there is investigative journalist Lowell Bergman, who most people will know from The Insider. Also really excited to say that I have an interview with Chris Marshall, who, if rumors are to be believed, will be the next Doctor Who as well. So there's also an interview with Pacino's longtime friend and biographer, Lawrence Grobel, as well. He's known him for 30 years. He's come on and talked about it. Basically, it is at least one interview with somebody for each film. I've even got 2 people talking about Gigli. That's how in-depth this has come. You know, I mean, people are talking about Gigli. I've got director Hugh Hudson talking about the financial bomb that was Revolution in the 80s that killed Pacino's career. It is honestly, it's such a huge book. I'm so excited for everybody to read it because it's taken me 2 years to write it in secret.
I was about to ask how long it's taken you to amass all of these interviews.
It's taken me 2 years, well, over 2 years, to be honest. Over 2 years, I started writing it, wasn't too sure where it was going, and then more and more interviews came, and I was enjoying writing, continued. So I've been doing it in secret for 2 years. So every time you've asked me, Leonard or Alyssa, you've asked me, what have you been up to? And I've gone, yeah, you know, just kind of the usual. In the back of my mind, I've been going, they don't really know. So yeah, I'm really excited. It is available to pre-order now. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's on Kobo, it's on iBooks. It is at the moment 99 cents. And 99p here in the UK. And then when it is fully released on the 9th of June, so not long, it's going to be out soon. It's going to go up a little bit. So what I would say, pre-order it now, 99 cents, 600 pages. Really, I mean, you know, that's a bargain. I'm giving you all of that.
He's now started to go. He's going into his market sale.
Yeah, his elevator speech. Absolutely.
Come on, roll up. Get your book here. I'll tell you what I'm actually looking forward to. While I'm tempted to buy this first edition, I'm waiting for the second edition hardback with the extended edition with the Al Pacino interview. That's what I'm waiting for. I think that will be the fun one. That's for the second edition, I can imagine. I
mean, that's a good question, actually, Leonard, because people do ask me, is there an interview with Al Pacino in the book? The answer is no, there isn't. I've asked a couple of times. They've turned me down both times, but as most people will know, he is a very reclusive person. You know, if he's not on the marketing and PR trail for a certain film, he doesn't do interviews. So I called them up. I called up his manager and said, look, I will fly out to LA on my own money and sit there for 5 minutes, you know, for 2 days of travel just to interview him. But they respectively declined. I will still go to them. Second edition. All right, we'll watch the sales of this first edition skyrocket. It will get on his radar. He'll recognize that it's a labor of love. Second edition. Anyway, excellent stuff. I mean, is it all text or is there any photographs or? No, there's photographs in there as well. I've got photographs with the people who I've interviewed in the book, so you'll know who they are as well. I took a photo myself when I was at one of the premieres when Al Pacino was here in the UK. So there's a photo of myself in there. And then there's also a very lovely photo, which I think some people will know this young lady, Courtney Galliano. She used to be on So You Think You Can Dance. She was on Glee. She was in a film with Al Pacino, and she's only in it for maybe about 20 minutes. But she had this lovely photo taken with him, and she said to me, you can use this. Please put it in the book. And it is a wonderful photo. So that is in there as well. So yes, there is a section of photos as well.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
It sounds as though it's really the definitive autobiography, if you know, pre-autobiography, if I could say that, about his life and his work. I'm surprised that he wasn't more interested in doing an interview, but as Leonard said, you know, I think once they see it as for what it is, as being an honest reflection on his talents, that maybe that you will get that 5-minute interview with him.
That would be absolutely great. It really would. I mean, this is not a warts and all biography at all. This is basically a book for the fans, written by an Uber fan. You know, I mean, we all talk about ourselves being nerds and geeks. Well, I am the Uber geek, Uber nerd about Al Pacino, basically. So, you know, that's where this book is coming from. It's coming from nothing but love.
Behind you gave
I can't imagine. Yeah, the poster.
Don't Mark.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Michael, I think, has a question.
So I have a question of how exactly did you structure the book? Like, how are the chapters, or how is it organized? You know, maybe.
It's organized in film order. So it starts with the Panic in Needle Park in the early 70s and then goes basically downwards all the way through. So Panic in Needle Park, Godfather, Scarecrow, Serpico, Godfather Part 2, Dog Day Afternoon, Bobby. No, I'm not going to list them all because that will be here all the time. But yeah, it basically goes in the order. So the last film in the book is Misconduct, which he did last year.
Wow, it sounds incredibly in depth. So I'm looking forward to having a look at this. This is it's well worth forking out my quid worth of money, hard-earned pound. So no, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. I do like to collect books about media and significant authors, significant people in the media. I've got a few books on some of the directors in the 50s because they're the ones that really kind of started this whole thing going. But a book on Al Pacino sounds wonderful, a wonderful addition to it. So encouraging everybody to help Mark out.
Please, yes, please. As I said, it's 99 cents, 600 pages. I mean, it's a bargain at the moment,
And you know what? It would make an ideal present for every single member of your family and friends, I think. So I think you should buy copies for each and every one of your family and friends. Mm-hmm. They'll not only love you, they'll respect you for it. So I think that would be...
Absolutely.
That's it, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to read it. I'm so looking forward to getting it out there and everybody letting me know what they think, whether good or bad. This is what's got to happen. You've got to put yourself out there, whether it's good criticism or bad criticism. Heck, I know that. Look, I'm going to criticize some films, so you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But I'm really looking forward to everybody reading it.
Even if you've got just
have we got any questions on the Q&A?
In the Q&A, we have mostly people are saying hello. We've got Tristan has joined us, and Angela and Karen Session has joined us. Angela Copley. Angela Copley actually is giving me a great segue into the next segment, which I'll get back to in a moment. Caroline is fabulous, says Michael P. Graham Small. The important question is, Leonard, was Andrew Lee Potts there at
So what was that, sorry?
Is Andrew
Andrew Lee Potts? Why yes, I believe he has made an appearance at this particular event, yes. I believe it's a rarity for him to show up at a UK convention. Mark, you can stop laughing now, but... It is a running joke that Andrew Lee Potts will in fact show up at the opening of an envelope, but but he's here and he's had a great time, and fun and games.
And Karen Session agrees, Mark, that she is going to spend 99 cents for your book, but to go to, so you've got at least 3 buyers, me, Leonard,
Lovely.
And Andrew.
Lovely.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Don't forget the special offer for this Bank Holiday weekend as well. If you do buy the book before Bank Holiday Monday, if you buy more than 10 copies, Mark will come round to your house and sign them for you for free. I understand this is an international offer. So that's I think that's incredibly generous of him. So thank you.
And Angela, on that note, we're going into Angela Copley's question, which is, so was there a hotel sale this week?
Well, yes, indeed. This was announced at the back end of last week. It came out into everybody's inbox who was a badge holder, registered member ID, and let everyone know that on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, we would be having the hotel sale for this year. If you took part in last year's hotel sale, the structure was very similar, with 1 or 2 slight tweaks, which included the ability to just add 1 hotel into your selection, which would then validate the actual form to allow you to submit it. It kind of then demonstrated that it was more a case of not so much getting specific hotels, but just getting everyone a bed. Now, at this point, I'm going to have to ask both Michael and Alyssa, where are we with the actual room sales? I mean, is there still stuff available at this point? I believe there is.
I keep thinking, it's been a hellacious 2 weeks, but I keep thinking, okay, Monday comes, I'm going to have a day off, I can relax. And then I remember we're going to hear back on Monday. We get the first round of results from the sale last Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, on Monday. So we don't know yet is the short answer. Long answer is oh my God, this is still continuing. I thought we were done with this in April.
Yeah, I think it's very much the Mission Valley stuff that's still available. Mission Valley hotels, airport as well. So, Michael, what was your take on it? I mean, were you keeping an eye on the actual hotel sale? How did it seem to progress to you? Because I saw a number of issues being raised on social media in terms of forms being people being kicked out of the form. What was your take on it?
Well, funny enough, I was on a business trip, so I was scrambling, trying to find a spot, and time where I could, dedicate to get my form in. It was interesting this year, like you said, there were a number of differences. They actually broke it into 2 different sections where you could choose downtown and non-downtown hotels, but luckily they only made you select one hotel, so you only had to select one from either list. And a maximum of up to 6 per list. For me, I'm a downtown hotel person, you know that, so I just stuck with my 6 hotels that I wanted downtown. And then there were also a few different options, like as far as how they could book you into hotels. One was like, book me at the nearest to the convention center, regardless of the hotel rate. Then there was ones that just said, book me anywhere, book me on the shuttle route, or don't book me at all if something. So it was very familiar, but there were some differences. But I do like the fact that they didn't force you into that, like, you have to choose 6 hotels. Like you said, it seems like they are trying to just get you into a bed. But the one backlash on social media is that, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the hotel you want. So I think it's a way that San Diego has started to say, well, it's a way to pad their numbers in the sense of, well, we got everyone into a hotel. It doesn't matter which hotel, but you have a hotel, So that helps their success rate, I guess, in a sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, the other thing I noticed about the form was that that they had a member ID spot for you to enter.
Last year.
Did they?
I believe so, but you didn't have to fill it out either year.
Yeah, I don't recall it last year being part of the form. I think that, but I do think that is a big hint that's saying that they would like to tie this to your member IDs going forward. At least that's my hope.
Or prioritize member ID people.
Right, going forward. I do agree with you that having the ability just to select downtown hotels and just a few hotels is a good one. And I personally really like the idea of the wait list. Obviously, that's been around for a while, but also the book me closest to the hotel, closest to the convention center. I think, that's a good option for people who are a little bit more not as worried about the money aspect. Granted, I'd love to get a room for 240 a night downtown, but it's if I've got the choice of that or spending a little bit more and getting one that's a little bit closer, that's what I'll go for. So I'm appreciative of that aspect of the hotel form. I didn't seem to notice any problems to go back to Leonard's question, any problems with the form itself. Did you hear, submissions of the form? Did you hear of anything, Leonard?
Like I say, I saw a number of issues that were being retweeted by the unofficial blog, which, as usual, were doing their best to keep an eye on any major issues that take place in any of these sales. So they're kind of like a watchdog of that kind of ilk. They did retweet a number of issues when it came to form submissions. Certainly when it came to, they were keeping an eye on timestamps as well, and the way that was being implemented. Because obviously it wasn't a case of when you got into the form. It was, sorry, not how long you actually took with the form, but when you actually were submitted to the form. It was a timestamp to that time frame. The one thing as well, I just wanted to point out as well, there were a slight price increase across the board, an average between $8 to $15 per night, pretty much across the board. I think there was only a couple of hotels which didn't take advantage of that price hike. There were also a couple of absent hotels and additional hotels, weren't there? And a couple of retitles as well. I believe the Renaissance was a new hotel, but that was a retitle hotel. But there was a couple. I think there's a couple up on the bay as well, isn't there?
Well, there's a new hotel on the bay, but there's also the Pendry Hotel, which has been blocked out, and obviously a San Diego Comic-Con CCI hotel, but it wasn't offered in the sale, which is interesting. I'd love to hear the story behind that, of why it didn't get offered. I do think, yeah, I do think that the fact that On Peak has spread out the notifications for half on, I'm assuming half, but half on Monday and this coming Monday and half a week later. I have a feeling that they're doing that as a result of CCI suggesting to them that perhaps they didn't run it very well last year and they're trying to lessen the load to their customer service. And, you know, so unfortunately, what that means is by decreasing the load on customer service, that means we're all going to get the information slower. So I'm not expecting a big outpour of confirmations first thing Monday morning. I think that they're going to just, if they do it by order, like alphabetical order, like they have done in the past, then we may get, you know, the A's, and then a couple of hours later, the B's, and then a couple of hours. You know, so they're going to draw this out. That's just my feeling about it. I don't know anything, but I don't know.
It's definitely an eking of information at this point. It's just everyone's still on tenterhooks at this point.
Do you think it's possible, though, it could be a different reason? I mean, one of the things I'm thinking of is that maybe they're thinking, you know, I think most Comic-Cons, and I'll allude to this a little bit more when we talk New York Comic-Con sales, I think most Comic-Con realize people are working in groups. They know this. You're working in a group for the benefit of everyone in that group. So do you think that they just think that maybe it's the first set of sales are going to be for the people who get their first and second choices, you know, but then they're going to see where the dust settles with that, because a lot of people let rooms go. And then in the second round, they'll be able to reassess how many of those first choices are available left for people who may not have had a better time, but now can get their first and second choice because so many people allowed their, you know, like, you know, let's say there were 4 of us trying for, you know, just that Hilton, and we get into the Hilton, we have 3 extra Hiltons, we don't need them left, and we just let them go back into the wild. So that's 3 extra rooms now that they could then offer to people who may not have had the best times.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that, but that makes absolute sense to me. That, you know, that they're thinking of this. That's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. I greatly appreciate it. Mark, did you participate in the sale at all?
No, not me. I've already got a hotel. I jumped on one last year, probably in about August or September, when I saw one had come open for Comic-Con dates. So I was like, no, I'm going to get those, even though it's a bit more expensive, because I saw the prices for where we are staying. And yes, we have paid a bit more, but in all honesty, I didn't want to go through Hotelpocalypse at all. So no.
And Leonard, you can sympathize with that.
I was watching from a distance. A minimum safe distance is what I watched the Hotelpocalypse. I have booked myself into a condo, which I'm looking forward to actually this year, because it is the birthplace of San Diego Comic-Con. So it kind of is a nice little historical symmetry to the whole event. So looking forward to that. But I was definitely paying a very close eye on the whole proceedings on social media, on the I do like how Hotelpocalypse has now really been embraced as the term for the whole thing, even though it's no longer the absolute F that it has been in previous years. It's certainly calmed down in terms of the issues that people have been feeling. I mean, last year there was a lot of issues in terms of duplicates, in terms of timestamps. That seems to have been eked out. They've managed to solve a number of those issues. So yeah, I like the fact that the term still stands, even if the actual issues no longer kind of present them to be the mess that it has been in the years gone by. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, my computer is rebooting because yes, I do have those problems currently. I do remember Craig Lindis's comment, which was that he tried the phone option and it took him about a minute, I believe, to get through. And the whole process was done within 5 minutes. I'm going to be...
That is not the only time I've heard that story. I've heard that the phone customer service option was very painless. They were very gracious on the phone. They were very helpful. So yeah, I've heard that as well.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a timestamp you get, Craig. I'm looking forward to seeing seeing where that goes with it. I know that we are doing on the forum. We have been compiling timestamps from the cache. So we've got an extra, we've got a verified timestamp as opposed to, well, it was somewhere between 1 and 2 minutes. So we're going to be putting out some information, and any information that we need from that. That's going to take a while to compile and get out. And I do have to have it vetted by a number of different people because I want to make sure that we're accurate with our assessments of it. But look for that probably in the next couple of weeks. We're going to get that out. Plus,
I'd be very curious to see how that works out.
Yeah, and we want to see what people actually got versus the timestamp. I loved the fact that it was the time to access the form.
My question though with that is, again, even though they say it's time access to the form, you have to imagine there's 40,000 people, however many thousand people trying. You have people still getting in the form at the same time. Not everyone's 50 seconds in, there's probably 30 people getting in at 50 seconds. So then how do they determine from that point forward? Is it,
There's a couple of theories that I've read. My personal theory is that they're going to be able to do micro times. And that's what I'm really hoping for. So you'll get 3.14 because that's, I just go to pi when I have to think about fractions. But you'll get those kinds of specificity. The other idea is that they're going to use the travel planners method, which was everything within 3 seconds is the same time. And it's just a matter of where you are in the pile. And I'm hoping with the way technology is, they don't revert to that analog solution of years ago. Just my thought.
And one other question, because again, I was traveling a lot and I haven't been following the forum quite as closely. Has there been like a general consensus of, like in years past, basically, if you were in within a minute to a minute and a half submitted, you pretty much did get a downtown hotel within your first, second, maybe even third choice. Have you heard, has there been any like thoughts on, like, if you got in submitted at X time, you should be okay, or not really?
I have heard people talking about this, and frankly, it seems like there's a lot of people who got in according to their timestamp in the first minute, which I'm kind of wondering with the retooling of the system, how that's going to affect us. So I don't really know yet.
Yeah, I think until we start getting confirmations of rooms, actual results of what the hotel sale has actually happened, I don't think we can actually speculate on that. I mean it's a great question, and I think it's only when we actually start seeing actual confirmed rooms, because then we can really start equating it to when people got their timestamp forms in. So I'm looking forward to the compiled results on the forum, but until we actually start getting emails out within the next week and a half, I know Alyssa's thinking it's going to get eked out a lot, but I think actually I think after last year's event and how delayed it was and how long it took to actually get into place, I think they are going to make a concerted effort to get this done sooner rather than later, smoother as a process. I don't think they can take another year of criticism.
Well, it's it's that old adage. Do you want it quick, fast, or cheap?
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what choices they make. I tend to think that they're going to want to do it accurate, because I think that that's what caused all of the problems last year, was the inaccuracy of the information, with
the lack of information as well,
and the lack of information from the customer service people, and the lack of timestamps. We didn't know the timestamps, and a variety of things. So I think Mike's theory from earlier that he mentioned earlier on, with regards to the let's see how the first round plays out, and then we'll see what's left over for the second round, makes an awful lot of sense to me. That's just getting it accurate, and I think that that'll cut down on the backlash. So
when I get the first available chance, I'm actually going to go onto the form and see what hotels are currently still available on the form, because I think that really also plays into the whole available rooms section of the form. I'd like to know how many people actually submitted that as an option. I'd like to know how, or did everyone just go for the downtown without even considering the rest of the drop downs? I'm curious to see if anyone actually just went, just give me a bed.
I think there are people though that go for the further away hotels, because it is still an expensive prospect to stay downtown. So you do have people that say, you know what, Mission Valley, it's just a bed. I just need to store my stuff. I'll go there during the day, and that'll be it. I mean, my former roommates who now, we stay downtown now, but they were in that boat. They stayed further away because of the money. Now we room together, so it's cheaper, but that was their reasoning.
We do have some comments from the Q&A, since my computer is back up and running. Michael P., my prediction is if you were in at 3 minutes or later, you will be contacted on May 8th. So he's thinking the earlier people are going to be contacted first, and the later people will be contacted second. Interesting. That goes along with Mike's idea. That makes sense. Sarita P. is saying she went for both. Andrew English is saying Bayfront Hilton, 5K for the week. Falls off of a chair. Yeah, well, that's
just. I mean, I've been speaking to a number of people here at EMCon who have been asking me about San Diego Comic-Con and asking about the room sales and the prices. And when I start talking to them about the actual numbers of how much it costs to get a room at San Diego Comic-Con, they go very quiet and then go very, very pale. They do look very shell-shocked when we talk about the hotel prices.
I used to get a car, which was about $300 or $400, $200-300 for the week, and at an Airbnb outside of town. It used to cost me about $2,000. Realizing that or $1,500, and realizing that the downtown hotels, if I went in with a roommate, would cost less than that, though it counteracts that shock that you're describing, Leonard. So just to put that forward. Now, granted, there is that little problem of driving on the wrong side of the road issue, which,
So to kind of wrap up Hotelpocalypse, then, would we say it's been a success, or can't we actually say that until we actually start seeing some confirmed emails? Do we think that the process itself worked well?
So far, the process worked well. We'll see.
Agreed. Yeah, we have to see how, if you start seeing people with later timestamps getting in better hotels than you do, then
All bets are off.
That's always going to be frustrating.
So I think it's a matter of let's see what happens tomorrow when the first wave goes out and who's getting answers in their first wave.
Okay.
I do want to, one quick thing. If you are at all thinking about doing the hotel exchange on the forum, make a membership today. Join the forum because it's going to be locked tomorrow for the duration. The exchange will be locked. You'll still be able to make a membership and still be able to participate in the forum. But the exchange is only going to be for people who've made a membership by tomorrow morning. The reason why is because we just don't have the manpower to add people during the process. We may reopen it and do another grab of the database later on in the week, but we will see. We've got a couple of comments that are coming in on Hotelpocalypse, and I want to just mention those before we do that. Craig Lindis selected 4 downtown hotels and 4 outside. Said I would take anything on the shuttle route. That sounds great. Hopefully you'll get an inexpensive place. Michael P. New York Comic-Con is so much worse in terms of the cost. I believe he's talking about in terms of the cost of the hotels. Midtown Manhattan, you're paying top dollar, regardless of when it is. That's just the way it is. Scott Douglas, Spring Hill Suites opened after the initial 16 sale, but was offered during the resale this year. So I think what he's saying is that we may see the country opening up post Scott, if that's not what you're getting at there. Graham Small says, I was just booked an apartment for 2018. Go, Graham. Nice. Can I join you? That sounds perfect. Michael P. is saying that the process worked well. Sam Payne, Graham, you're always so ahead of me about his booking an apartment. Scott Douglas, I selected 4-night minimum hotel during this year. Do you think that'll help my chances? I do. I absolutely do. I think if you're willing to take the full 4 nights, that you should get a preference over somebody who's just taking a Saturday or Sunday. That's just my opinion, and I know that's controversial. Karen Sessions, autofill was a big help. Angie, Leum, sorry, I didn't know how to pronounce that. The worst hotel sale is Dragon Con. I've heard that.
Just out of curiosity, there is something I wanted to bring up about the hotel sale. I know that there were 2 hotels that were listed on the initial, so basically on they are standard hotels. I think Coronado Island's one of them, and there's another hotel as well. But they weren't listed on the sample form, at which point people were paying close attention to see if they were going to be on the final form, and they didn't show up there either. Did we get any kind of fallout from that, or any clarification? Did that ever get resolved?
Not that I know of.
No, because there were 2 hotels that were missing. I think Coronado Island was one of them. I think they were both Coronado Island ones. I actually tweeted Coronado Island, and they turned around and said, our sales are officiated by OnPeak. It's down to them. And all I could think is, yeah, you're going to find out when no one's booked your hotel, mate. Because they haven't been able to, because it wasn't provided as an option.
Right. That'll be interesting about the Pendry too, just to see, because it's not an option. I'm going to go ahead and continue with some of the comments. Graham Small said it was £1,500 for 7 nights. Angela, I think that's about the apartment. Angela Copley, I put down downtown hotels only, but not all the top 6 hotels.
Strategic, nice.
Yeah. Well, I have to think that people, and this goes back to an earlier point that people made, I think that if people are happy staying in Mission Hill, I think they bought the pre-sale, cheaper hotels. you know, so if you're okay with Mission Valley, that's, you know, that would have made the most sense to me to have done. Angela goes on to say, I do have a backup at Hotel Z, which is actually quite nice. It looks like a good hotel. A little bit in the background, I hear. Sam Payne, let's see. Not silly with a deal like that. I think about booking the 2018 hotel. Anybody else on Hotelpocalypse? Any other ideas?
As far as I can tell, until we actually start getting some confirmation emails out, we can't really determine what the fallout has been. I personally feel, from what I've seen, that the process has gone relatively smoothly. I do want to investigate these issues, certainly of forms where people are being kicked out of forms or forms are being locked. Certainly want to have a little look at those. I was kind of hoping that somebody from the unofficial blog was going to be watching today, so they could have chimed in with those. But there we go. Never mind. But no, we'll certainly do another follow-up report to this next week, and certainly do keep in contact with the forum. Let them know in terms of what you applied for, what your timestamp was, and what you were actually accepted for. So yeah, we'll find out next week.
And on to the other big submission this week. Would you like to walk us through this, Mike, for the New York Comic-Con ticket sales? This was for a pre-reg ticket sale that happened. We don't know how many tickets were available for the people who had made their member IDs or their fan verifications, they call them.
Alyssa, before you continue, I think you missed one other thing in regards to San Diego that I think you should talk about for maybe 2 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Parking. Didn't the Ace Lottery do this week as well?
Oh, right. That was the same day.
Yes. I mean, I didn't participate, but I think you should, if maybe there's a few people who did that, you might give a quick rundown, and then we could move on to New York, if you want.
Quickly.
What I might do, if you'll excuse me, I think what we're going to do is, it's getting a little bit noisy here with all the moving around of tables and all the final bits and pieces. What I think we're going to do is we're going to head very quickly to our hotel. Hopefully we'll get ourselves settled in about 10-15 minutes. We'll try our best to get in as quick as we can. We'll come back and rejoin unless it's all done and dusted. It's all finished. We'll see what happens. But are you okay with that?
Absolutely. We've got New York Comic-Con to talk about, and we've also the ticket sales for that, parking, and we're also going to talk to Mark. And I'll try and hold off for the Game of Thrones 2 spoiler-free media talk.
God,
so
yes.
we might end up doing a week in television before you get back in. We'll see you.
Let me rush to the hotel and get myself settled, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Back soon.
Bye-bye. So parking, yes. Ace Parking was supposed to announce all of their submission lottery winners on, I believe it was Tuesday, the day before Hotelpocalypse. They seem to have had a small problem with getting the emails out, as was evidenced by the next day when they started sending out Group 1 winners. They did not BCC people. So you had, and that was a huge, I mean, to my mind, that's a huge security problem. Yeah, exactly. So you had one person who won a Group 1 spot, seeing the email addresses for all of the other people who won a Group 1 spot. Apparently there was one person who won a lot of Group 1 spots, and his name was Joey. That raised a bit of a concern about things being perhaps not quite so above boards. But I will say that Ace Parking historically has allowed submissions from a number of people, a number of submissions from one person before. So that doesn't surprise me at all. What surprises me is that Ace did not, Ace allowed other people to see the winning IDs. And the thought was, if there was a fictitious ID, say Joey won at whatever domain, that somebody else could log on to the Ace parking site and take over the Ace parking site for that email address, which would have caused a huge problem. I have not heard about any problems happening, but it still was a security concern. Regardless, all of the other submissions, the group 2s on out, have gone out, and there is scrambling, and we do have a parking exchange open on the forum too. So that's pretty much parking in a nutshell. There is more information about it, but I think now is time to talk about New York Comic-Con tickets, because frankly, I was surprised at how smoothly the process went yesterday. Was that your impression too, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I alluded to this earlier, it helps being in a group, and I think New York Comic-Con and San Diego and all the big cons have started to realize that people are working in groups. New York Comic-Con pretty much acknowledged this in their checklist multiple times. Have your fan verifications of your group. Be on communication with your group. So I think that's one of the big factors in what made, especially for the FOCC group, go very well. We're prepared a little bit for San Diego. It's a lot of the same people, and I think we were prepared for that sale. It was interesting because that email came, I think, Thursday, that said there's a pre-sale. Be ready for the pre-sale on Saturday. Usually that the sale is during the week, but I think they had polled a number of people before the show, so they went with a weekend sale at 11 a.m., which is odd because they like their 12 a.m. spot, but for whatever reason they went 11 a.m. The only difference is, unlike in San Diego, there's no waiting room. It's a refresh and see where you are in line. Although there was a queue. You were still put into a queue, but I assume it was based on when you refreshed within that 2-second span of, it flipping over from 11:59:59 to 12:00:01, and then it's, you've F5'd, and wherever you landed, you landed. But from there, there were a few issues. I did see some people getting that white 404 screen, or that white screen. I actually did get one, but once you refreshed it, it seemed to put you back where you were, or if you were able to buy, you were able to buy.
Let's talk about the initial announcement, just to take it go step by step, because they did say that like you said, it was on a Saturday and at 11 o'clock. I think that in my opinion, that probably had to do with the fact they wanted to give themselves an hour more daylight, so to speak, so they didn't do it at noon. That was my thought with regards to that. They also opened up the not the fan verification, but the email verification. So it was only for people who had email verified prior to 2016 or 2016 and prior, not whether or not they attended. And you had to actually enter the email address in for that fan verification, which I thought was different. They had never done that before. They're following the CCI model of member IDs on this, which is fine, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Insofar as that you can't, if I say I logged in as I used my unique code to log in under my son's account, and my son, i.e. me, bought all 16 tickets for 4 days of each ticket, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 16 total tickets. He could not be, that link would not be able to be used for the Gen sale.
Yeah.
So I don't know, were you able to log in, Mike?
I had my link, and I had family members' links that I was running. So, but we were approved for press, but even so, I had created a fan verification in 16 just in case I wasn't approved for press. And that link worked fine, and it actually got through through the queue, but that was the link that I was having 404 problems, or that white screen, whatever the problem was. I forget
Mhm.
the exact error code. And then one of the other links that I was running for a family member got through, so that's the one I used to purchase tickets. But again, that part wasn't a problem, I don't think. And as far as I could see, I don't know how many ticket sales they actually sold. I know they said under 50%. If I was hazarding a guess, I would say it was in the 30 to 40% range. But even as of today, they didn't sell out all of their allotments. They still have, I think even now, Thursday and Sunday still available. Saturday sold out, but later in the day. And then Friday, I think, sold out sometime this morning.
That's my recollection too. It's interesting, the statistics. I didn't realize they had only sold about 40%.
Well, they didn't say. I'm guessing at that. They said it was under 50%, but I would imagine it would be somewhere in the, like 20 just seems too low to me. 40 seems too high, so I would think that it's somewhere in the 35% range. That seems like a sweet spot number in my own head anyway.
Well, what I personally like about having a group of returning members is you've got people who know the system, so they can help the new folks walk through. Hey, where is, how do I get to, what's the process? Where's the Starbucks? Those kinds of basic life necessity questions.
Yeah.
But,
and one other benefit is, unlike San Diego, it's a 4-to-1 ratio. So when you have a group, you just need that less people need to actually get through. So in San Diego, you could buy for yourself and 2 others, or a total of 3. Here, you could buy for a total of 4. So when your group is the same number of people as, let's say, a San Diego group, you just need that less one or 2 less people to actually get through. So that was a benefit also. Absolutely,
and that makes perfect sense to me what you're saying. The one thing that I did notice, and that they were very, very good about mentioning, was that they, if you entered in an email that had already been used, that you would be booted out of your cart, and you had to go back to the beginning of the cart, but not back into the queue, which was really. And it's interesting to me that they didn't test for this in the beginning. I
mean, I have to say honestly that, the actual queue part wasn't bad. Getting in wasn't bad, but I mean, I hate to say this, but the show clicks, like the actual purchasing from that point forward, needs an overhaul. It just, in my opinion, needs a complete. It's not impressive. I mean, I think ReadPop really needs to go to show clicks and retool some of these issues. I mean, if again, I don't like I think they should have had a system where you could. At this point, you should be able to remove tickets from your cart without having to lose the tickets that you already have. I found the actual purchase, like when you're entering the fan verification emails, was very cumbersome. It was like a long, like if you added 4 of each day pass, each one showed up right underneath it. You had to scroll, and then it's a decision of, how am I going to enter these emails? Do I just take one email address and start, putting them all in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then move on to the next email? Or do I do all the Thursdays first, then the Saturdays? I just think that the whole, that part of the process, just between getting tickets out of your cart that you're not going to use and then entering the fan verification, needs a whole reworking. It was just too cumbersome. And I could see people not being tech savvy getting very frustrated with that whole process.
It was tedious, especially having to indicate that they were adult or kids. The assumption is that 90%, 95% of the people are adults.
Yeah.
So why do you have to indicate that? Why don't you make that assumption and then put a checkbox if it's a kid?
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. But I agree that hopefully ShowClicks is testing a new way, and it seems like ReadPop is pretty much married to ShowClicks. So I don't think that we're going to see that. you know, moving to a different company, but ShowClicks should stay in the norm and should be responsive to ReedPop because they sell a lot of their tickets. It makes complete sense to me.
I mean, I agree. For smaller shows that don't have this fan verification, ShowClicks is great. It works fine. But now that we're starting with this whole almost San Diego Comic-Con, like, you know, entering your fan verification now, doing all this now, it needs a retooling. I mean, I think that if New York Comic-Con is their premier show and that's where the big money comes in from them, then ShowClick should be responsive to that and be retooling that purchase page to accommodate, you know, again, I mean, I understand, you know, again, ReedPop understands that people are working in a group. So then they should also understand that during that franticness of adding tickets to your cart, you don't want to be thinking, do I need 2 of one day, 3 of this? You just want to add 4 of each day to your cart, you know, especially if you're not going the San Diego route of entering in the verification email first. If you're doing that after you've added the tickets to your cart, then they should have a way of removing tickets from there before, like maybe and it could be just something simple as this, as if you don't enter the email address in that drop down and you hit continue, it says these tickets don't have an assigned thing. If you click continue, those tickets will be removed from your cart, but the ones that do will remain in your cart.
Right.
That's
right.
Just
they did address this, and they basically said that they were going to try and come up with a different a verification, a way to kick out those tickets that were not verified next year, but they couldn't do it this year. So I don't know the coding behind everything, but that could be true. I mean, as far as I know, it could be. With regard to the 404 and the white screens, to be honest with you, I didn't find that too much of a problem because it seemed as though I only got the 404 once or twice, but it seemed as though the white screens, you could just hit refresh. Is that what you did to get out of the white screens, Mike? Or did you?
Yeah, that's what I did. Although one issue I had was I added tickets to my cart and then I hit continue, but I think I was at the initial rush, I was having some problems. And then I hit continue again, and it said I have exceeded the number of tickets in my cart, but all I saw was the initial 4. So then I had to kind of clear everything out. And then when I re-put in those ticket amounts, it went through. It just seemed, again, I think this was a good indication of what general sale is going to be like at the point where it's the heaviest load on their bandwidth. You know, I think it's going to be interesting to see how general sales go for them.
Absolutely, especially if they require the tickets to be assigned to a person during the sale process. That very well may end up being a problem for some folks who just fan verified and are not as familiar with the system as we are. This is definitely the first good beta test of the system with regards to that. Let's see. I do want to go through a couple of tickets. And let's see.
Well, my one question that I have is this. Let's say you had people go. When I was buying tickets, I was buying for tickets for people that were going different days. And some of the people weren't going all 4 days, which, you know, is a consequence of them having now gotten rid of the 3 and 4 day pass. So it makes people choose, do we want to spend that full amount for all 4 days? And some of the people I know said, no, I'm just going to go X number of days. But my question is what happens if, let's say, you know, you put in the wrong fan verification for a day for someone else? Will they be accommodating and change that for you after the fact?
That's a good question.
Because, I mean, I understand that, you know, one of the things with this fan verification is, again, to curb scalpers. But at a certain point, people are just human. So you have to, you know, it's like, are you saying everyone's going to be a scalper and therefore there's no changes? Or are you going to also allow, you know, like these times where someone emails you and says, oops, I made a boo-boo during the sale, change this to this? Are they going to give you problems on that? My guess is no, but I just want to, I'm waiting to hear that 1 or 2 cases when it does happen, because it will happen.
I mean, it seems as though that ReedPop is as accommodating as CCI in terms of paying attention to their fans. So it will be interesting to see. But then again, I don't understand a lot of the deviousness of scalpers.
Yeah.
So I'm not as fully up on that as I should. Sarita is saying that Thursday is only Thursday is available for the pre-sale tickets at this point. So Sunday is also sold out, which is also Kids Day. So
Yeah.
that kind of makes a bit of sense. The one last point that a bunch of people on the forum have been saying is compared which ticket process is better, quote unquote better. Is it the New York Comic-Con or is it the CCI Comic-Con actual ticket sale? I had to weigh in on saying that the San Diego ticket sale process is better. Once you get into the cart, once you get into your buying session, I think that the San Diego ticket process is easier to navigate, primarily for the reasons that you mentioned, Mike, because you don't have to label it as an adult. You're already in the system. The database is already linked. You don't have to enter in the email address. You have a member ID. So all of those screens I think was better. And I think that San Diego, if I recall correctly, did not have as many problems with the white screens in the 404. This does not say anything, does not speak to the queue or the waiting room or the randomization process. Was that your opinion, or what was your opinion? And both Mark, you didn't do the New York ticket process, so you wouldn't be able to say, but Mike, which process do you prefer?
When you don't take into account the waiting room and the queues and and when you're just talking actual buying, when you're just saying, all right, now I'm at the buy page and I'm making the purchase, I'd have to say San Diego is a little more fan friendly in that you put the member ID in first, not after, and then you just choose the days that you need. It's a button, and especially if preview night is available, if you hit that preview night, everything automatically goes in. So I think that for that reason alone, it makes it easier. Now, when working with groups, though, at San Diego, it's actually a little harder because everyone's starting to put in everyone's member ID first. So then you get that error message of,
Good point.
Of, oh, this is in use or that's in use, and you're like frantically trying to get in people's member IDs, especially when working with your group, of why is this one not working? Whereas at New York Comic-Con, you were able to add the tickets first and then choose, especially for our groups, we were then choosing who we were purchasing for. That said, I still think San Diego's a little bit better. I'd still like to put in the person's ID first and then just say, these are their days. And then I don't have to fan verify them after the fact. I've fan verified them first, and then I've chosen the days that they need to go. So for that one quick reason alone, I think it's just San Diego edges them out a little bit more.
Scott and Sarita P both agree with you that San Diego is easier to use. Sarita P goes on to say CCI is better because verification is done ahead of time, like you said, so you don't have to do this process during the sale, which takes time. And I think that that the CCI system acknowledges the fact that we're kind of crazy. When we're doing the badge sales, we're kind of crazy. We don't have much patience.
But the only takeaway I'll say at this point is from both CCI and New York Comic-Con, I give them credit. Over the years, they have acknowledged that people are working in groups. They know this now, and they've adapted to that. They no longer think I'm just working for myself. They've realized I'm working with my group, however big that group is. They don't acknowledge that some groups are larger than others, but they know that you're working together with friends, family, and whatnot to achieve getting those tickets. And they've adapted their messaging accordingly. And I appreciate both Repop and CCI for acknowledging that and dealing with that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that that brought up. Also, the fact that they were making Repop was making a concerted effort to get all the pro acceptances and denials out so prior to the Saturday sale, so that people would know whether or not they had to buy a ticket.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been a little nicer if they had gotten them through a day or two earlier. I had friends who didn't hear back until midnight.
Right.
I mean, it's great that they're working till midnight, but if they had just done that, 2 days earlier, because then if you got denied at midnight, then you have to scramble to find people to, work with. And especially like our group, we were closed by midnight. We were saying, sorry, at that point, our...
the group on the forum, the New York Comic-Con group on the forum had worked together last year, and all of those, those members ported over. We also accepted members from other buying groups. So, we are a step ahead of a lot of other people. And, in terms of the organization factor with the Google Docs is just absolutely fabulous. But I think just to acknowledge the fact that we are a little bit more organized and focus on the organization a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were done within 10 minutes almost, having some 15. I don't know.
I don't know. I forget. It's you're in that badge buying or Hotelpocalypse mindset. It all time goes out the window. Yeah. I'm keep hoping for Leonard to come back. So I'm not seeing him. If one of you guys want to text him and see where he is, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm going to start moving on to the television updates, just because American Gods.
I'm looking forward to it. I got excited for it. I don't know what. It's starting to get me excited. I'm very much Mark, are you in on this at all, or?
Yeah, we get it Monday here, and it's on Amazon Prime rather than on a standard TV. But yeah, we do get it here. I'm the same as you. I have read the book. I'll be honest here, I did struggle with it purely based on the fact that there were so many characters. It was kind of, to me, it felt like reading Lord of the Rings before I'd watched the film. So I'm really excited to see American Gods, because I love Neil Gaiman. I think his writing is brilliant. But for me, that book was so in-depth with characters that I was kind of losing my mind with it. But I understood how brilliant it was. I just couldn't fully get into it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's done. And also, let's not forget, it's got Ian McShane in it. Now, I'm going to watch anything with Ian McShane because I love him anyway. So I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
That's what a lot of people are saying. It's just to remind everybody, here in the States, it's on Hulu. So it's on yet another pay service that we have to, subscribe to. But
Stars.
I'm sorry?
Isn't it Stars?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. The next one that I'm going to talk about is on Hulu. I apologize. My bad. But anyway, it's another service. For me, it's another service that I've got to pay for. So I'm not, so looking forward to this. I was able to read a spoiler light review on Variety, and they basically said that it's slow, and it's confusing. Going back to your point, Mark, but it's well, with all of the characters.
Yeah, that's fine. I think if it is more coherent than Legion, then I think that will be fine. I love Legion. I thought it was brilliant. I absolutely was blown away from it. But it wasn't that coherent. There was no linear story to it, basically. So people saying it's slow, people saying, hey, it's slightly confusing. Well, that's fine. Anything, having seen Legion, anything less than that is fine with me.
And it's Neil Gaiman. Yeah, that's his work. That is his. But the previews that I've seen for it, and the anything, when Variety goes for it, I tend to believe it. I respect their reviews very, very much so. So it's making me want to spend the money on Stars, absolutely. But like Hulu, I may wait till the entire series is done so that I can download it, or watch it all, binge it all at one time. So I highly recommend. Leonard, are you with us yet?
I like to think so.
Yeah. Have you any
I'm just
feelings
trying to
about
find
you want to
somewhere
weigh
we
in on
can-
American Gods?
No, I listened very quickly there to Mark's take on it.
Closer to the mic.
Okay, tell you what, give me 5 seconds. I'll go get headphones.
Oh, there you go. So the absolutely. Put us down. Nice view of the ceiling there. Moving on. Hulu's Batman. I spoke about this last week, but Hulu's Batman and Bill Finger documentary is going to be on. I had an opportunity to see a rough cut of probably about an hour of this at New York Comic-Con. You guys will mention this. Oh no, echo. Sorry.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to get rid of.
Okay. I'm not getting an. I don't hear an echo at all.
It's all right now.
Sarita P is saying she regrets not going to the booth at New York, the booth for New York American Gods last year. As do I. It looks to be amazingly fascinating. Regardless, somebody let us know if we're done with if we're not getting an echo anymore. But going back to the Hulu and Bill Finger, Batman and Bill Finger, that's going to be airing, I believe it's Friday this week on Hulu. This in combination, my feeling about this is in combination with the Handmaid's Tale that was aired on series that is airing on Hulu, is really the killer app that Hulu needs to get more members involved, especially from a geek culture. Have you heard anything about Handmaid's Tale, Mark?
Well, obviously we've heard everything coming from you guys in the US, all of the build up. Yes, it's great and everything, and nobody has picked it up here in the UK, which is very frustrating because there's a lot of people desperate to see this show, including myself. I'm really looking forward to it, but nobody has picked it up at all, which is kind of strange when you think, well, there's so much build up and yet nobody's got it. Not even a streaming service, so Netflix or Amazon Prime, they don't have it at all. Very, very odd, I've got to say.
It sounds odd because of I mean, Margaret Atwood is a name.
It's not exactly a small project either. The cast is through the roof. The premise is
amazing,
edgy and amazing. It certainly it gets your attention. I mean, I saw the premiere, the posters that's available for this thing, and they catch the eye. The taglines are not exactly. It's not hiding this show under a bushel. So no, I'm also. I think it's also a case of. I'm curious as to which channel would actually pick this up. I think possibly your streaming service would possibly be the few that would actually have the bottle to actually to run with this show, or possibly Mark, you might be able to back me up. Maybe like a More 4 or a BBC 2 kind of vibe.
I don't think the BBC. No.
Who's read the book? It shows the UK in a good light. It really is. Towards the end of the book, it really kind of as. So it's kind of surprising to me that more people aren't involved in it. I think if I'm remembering correctly, and granted, I read the book quite a few years ago. The UK is the island of sanity in all of this. Well, you know,
it doesn't happen often.
As opposed to religious fundamentalism being overtaking parts of the U.S. So hopefully you guys will get to see it. If not, there is those other services out there that you can kind of
sailing the nefarious seas. I believe is one way of putting it. Yes, who knows? But I also, just to go back very quickly to American Gods. That is, I'm very much in the same boat as Mark. I've read the book. I also kind of struggled with it because no, because it is his The Stand. It's his grand epic, if you will. It also has, but I mean, I'm very much up for the series. The cast looks incredible. The previews we've seen so far just look amazing. No, I'm very, very much up for it. I've got Amazon Prime, or should I say, the other half has Amazon Prime. So no, she was one of those setups where we got Amazon as one of the kind of like a free trial thing, and then forgot to cancel it. So we happened to have Amazon Prime. So no, I'll be checking it out. If anything, because I've been also checking out Man in the High Castle. Because it definitely is. Amazon seem to be going that way of just getting some really quality items on their service at the moment. So no, looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it. Yeah. What else? Where are we going else?
Where we're going else is we're waiting for Alyssa to restart her computer so she can look at the weekend television.
Can I just say something which will tie into your week in television, actually, Alyssa, and something that I read this week that is a little bit disconcerting coming out of the US. A&E, the TV network, who obviously had a great hit with Bates Motel, have all of a sudden dropped all of their scripted programming. They're not producing anymore, and they've gone 100% reality TV. Now,
is this off the back of the strike? It's something I keep wanting to bring up and talk about on the show, and several people have actually asked if we can actually make a bit of a special show about this, considering that it will also affect the kind of content that we can see at San Diego, or indeed all conventions, as the writer's strike could just very much like it did, was it almost a decade ago, just bring television almost to its knees. I did quite like the tweet that someone put out early on this week, that it was down to the writer's strike that we had the rise of The Apprentice. For the love of God, can we please pay them anything they want? So yes, we have the writer's strike to thank for all of this.
We also had the writer's strike to thank for a couple of other shows too. But to go back to Mark's point of the A&E. Yes, that was devastating to hear that they were thinking about going straight for reality television. I keep thinking April Fool, and an April Fool's joke, because that's or somebody hacked their system. Have they commented further? Has anybody seen any comments further about A&E going straightly to reality?
I haven't seen anything. I've just seen we're not doing any more scripted at the moment. We're just going direct to reality. Shebang, I guess, shenanigans, debacle, whatever it is. I mean, and the thing is, they've had a good couple of years with some of their stuff, especially Bates Motel. So this has come out of the blue for them.
It really seems like that's changed. It's definitely changed directions. We may end up and just to clarify it, because I'm sure everybody already knows, but scripted shows, reality shows are scripted. So the writer's strike is going to mean a problem for them also. The WGA strike that, and I don't know if you've been following this, Leonard, more closely than I have, so correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they voted to strike. They still have a week before they do strike.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. It is a case of it's gone to second round within the membership, and I believe, as far as I was aware, it's actually getting determined as we speak. So yeah, it's imminent. Whatever we find out, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think it's this week when we really find out what kind of impact this will have.
Well, I think we can, given the last strike, I think we can give an idea about the impact. Granted, the landscape is very different now than it was 10 years ago when the old WGA strike was. However, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, that I think that it took, a few shows before they ran out of scripted shows. But once that hit, there wasn't anything. It was
Yeah.
destitute. It was a
Yeah.
wasteland of television. And thank God I've got a lot stacked up on my TiVo, having been gone for 6 weeks. I mean, I'm not even through with The Expanse yet, but I think that's not having the writers, the outreach of this is not having the writers at San Diego, and the possibility of not having that new creative interviews and ideas going forward is going to be hard.
Yeah. I think also the reason why this particular strike issue is also a lot of very telling is the fact that the last strike was about voiceover residuals for new media. This is very much about base pay across the board for writers. So everyone's invested in this. It's, in other words, whereas the last time the strike was supporting a smaller member of the membership of the WGA, this affects everyone. And I think I'm just getting the sense that it's almost a foregone conclusion, because they're just not going to back down on this. They just can't afford
They
to.
can't. I mean, it used to be, their pay used to be based on 22 episodes a year, and a certain amount of money per episode. And that hasn't changed, yet all of the seasons have gone to 10, 12 episodes, and there's not NDAs, but there's non-compete clauses, so they can't write for another show. So their pay has been cut in half by what the new model for television. And granted, it's produced some fabulous shows for us, and it certainly is the golden age of geekdom on television, in my opinion. But going forward, they need to get paid, because they're the ones that are adapting the Neil Gaiman shows and the Legions and all of this. So I'm absolutely pro-union on this, and they should stick to their guns. But it means that we're going to have a hard time going forward on this.
Yeah, I think this is very similar to the hotel sale. We're not going to get an answer to this until next week's show, I suspect, purely because it is happening as we speak. But I think you're right. The impact of this one could be quite devastating.
Yeah, absolutely, to us. I'm gonna let's see. Anyone watching Handmaid's Tale? Graham Small? Yes, I watched the first one last night. Is there going to be a 20th Century Fox panel this year from Willtown?
Great question. Great question. We are obviously we're paying close attention to all of the social media and all the Twitters and all the shows and films of the various companies. No word yet from 20th Century Fox. No word yet from the various projects that are due from that studio. Also with the business with Kevin Feige announcing that Marvel will be making a presence at San Diego Comic-Con. 20th Century Fox and Marvel have usually gone tag team on the final panel of Hall H. 2 years ago, obviously, you had your Daredevils, and you had all the guys come out to do what they needed to do for X-Men and X-Men Apocalypse. A hell of a panel. Last year, of course, it was Marvel, and we were kind of assuming it was going to be back to Fox. We were going to go tag team again, but with this whole announcement from Kevin Feige, we have no idea. We're going to pay close attention. I don't know if anyone is also looking at the upcoming films release. I think Mark is probably the best person. If you could just dial up a browser and just see what Fox actually have on the docket, because as far as I'm aware, they ain't got much. Quite frankly, I think, as far as I'm aware, the X-Men film has been pushed back a little while, so the next X-Men film is further down the line. Who's Dark Tower with?
I'm just looking up to see what Fox have got.
I can't remember who Dark Tower is with. They basically need a panel which will hold the attention for an hour, and if they haven't got the content, then it's going to be very difficult, obviously, for them to do
okay,
anything.
well, Kingsman, obviously, Kingsman 2, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, they have that, and the others do not look Comic-Con friendly. It's got to be said. The Aftermath and Battle of the Sexes, Goodbye Christopher Robin, that's what is on their slate. They have an animated film called Ferdinand in December. That's it. That is it. Yeah, it's.
In other words, shall we make a call on this one? No.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. No, that's not good. That's not good. I would possibly say that unless they have something really big next year, maybe not.
It doesn't help when Fox have to go up against a company which have in their back pocket Star Wars, all the Marvel films, Pixar. So yeah, they're basically up against Disney, and well, that's not a fight I want to see. So yeah, fun games. But we'll keep close eye. We can't say until the actual schedules are released, which do happen 2 weeks prior to the actual convention itself. But of course, we'll keep an eye on the various social medias, and we'll see what Fox could possibly pull out of the back pocket. So who knows?
Continuing on the comments, Angela Copley is asking, what does A&E stand for? Just to go back to our earlier conversation, isn't it arts and entertainment? And yet,
here in the UK, it's accident and emergency, which, considering a number of the shows they have, that rather.
There you go. Michael P is saying that he's reading on Variety. He got this from Variety. Is that the team captains, the WGA team captains, are saying, "Be prepared. We're going on strike." Yeah. Let's see. Karen Sessions points out that the Big Bang Theory was born out of the last writer's strike, and
good point. But we're also talking about the delay for Battlestar Galactica, the delay for the shortened season for Lost. What else was there? There was plenty. I think there was a couple of shows that died in the interim.
There's a lot of shows that died.
Didn't it kill Firefly?
No.
No.
That was the baseball season.
Yeah, Sony did that on their own. Okay.
Graham Small is responding to Angela and saying A&E is now butts and elbows. I'm trying to use a nice word there. Yes.
I want to see the new promos for that.
Yeah. Sam is laughing and agrees. Tuesday is the earliest day, is saying Michael P. I think that he's talking about the writer's strike.
He's very much Michael. It's got to be said, if you can follow him on Twitter, because he's been incredibly invested in this particular issue. So no, I'm looking forward to any updates that Michael keeps an eye on. So thank you for that.
Well, The Expanse is heavily promoted by the writers of the series, and Mike is a big fan. Dr. Andrew is saying Dr. Evil Sing-Along came out of the strike. That's absolutely true. If anything, if I do
certainly a number of the issues raised from Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog, if not the show itself, I'd say the show itself. I'm pretty sure that the show itself, and thank you very much for bringing that up, Andrew. The show itself came out of it because Joss was so just frustrated. Yeah.
Mark, you're agreeing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Although I'm a big fan of, if anyone knows the Sing-Along blog, or if you can go to YouTube, check out the Commentary the Musical. Because there's a great song which Joss Whedon and indeed the Whedon boys did about the writer's strike, which does sum it all up in 3.5 minutes. It's a pretty good song to kind of get a sense of what we could be expecting. But there we go. Okay. I stand corrected.
Michael P is going on to say it's different, and I believe that he's talking about this writer strike versus the other writer strike, and that it's going to be harder on us because it's starting before they've written. The writers have written the fall shows, unlike last times, which I guess was when there were a lot more shows in the can.
Yeah,
that makes complete sense. Andrew English goes on, web episodes weren't paid for as classified in the promotion.
Yeah, that was part of the issue last year, the last strike. Yeah.
Andrew English is saying Dark Tower is a Columbia picture.
Thank you very much indeed for that. I knew I could have sworn Fox were involved in distribution, but okay, thank you.
Yep. Sarita P. Fox just announced the next X-Men movie. Sony Pictures for Dark Tower.
Right.
Heroes never recovered from the writer's strike. And Pushing Daisy.
It killed Pushing Daisies. It killed that. I knew that was the show. I knew the show died. Pushing Daisies, of course.
Yep.
What a bloody shame.
That was.
What a great show that was.
Just to get us back in, not looking backwards, now moving to looking forwards. Another show that's coming out, another documentary that's coming out this week is on the History Channel, which is Superheroes Decoded, which is supposed to have quite a few really good
creatives,
yeah, creators on there. So if you're interested, go through the list and take a look at it, and it could be very interesting. I will say the history, I got a chance to catch Genius on the History Channel last week with Albert Einstein. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that, but I like those kinds of shows too. So if you're at all interested in the dramatic recreations, have you guys gotten that at all? Do you guys get the History Channel over there?
It's being shown on a channel over here, and I believe we're into the second episode tonight. I believe. Mark, I think so.
You could be right. I've seen it I've seen it advertised everywhere, so it's definitely here. Yeah.
I would recommend it. It's not going to take over for my favorite shows, but it certainly is something that's worth watching if you're looking for something kind of mellow on it. We also get to see The Last Kingdom, which was previously on BBC, is now on, I forget where, on Netflix. Sorry. As is Sense8. Both of those are returning for their second season this year. And so JMS's Sense8 has got a slow, a smaller fan group, but definitely steady. They really are enjoying that. I have not seen any episodes of it. We get to see the final episodes for Taken, American Crime, The Mick, and Blue Bloods this week. I think there's one more show that I think we actually say goodbye to, and that is Powerless.
Oh dear, what a shame. Too bad. Let me wipe the one small tear away from my eye and send that on its merry sodding way. What a disastrously unfunny effort that was. Good God, that was torture. I liked the fact that they kept advertising it as a comedy by the end, and it just really, because the clue is if nobody's laughing, it ain't funny.
I lasted 15 minutes the first episode, and that was about all I could take. But speaking of comedies, don't we have something that you guys got before we got?
Of course. That's because we're race. And
yeah.
you guys, yeah. Well, we'll make this real quick because I've just looked at the time and realized that we have been on for an hour and 45 minutes. So we'll make this a rather sharpish one. Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Of course, the second chapter in the Guardians franchise as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I believe this is film 17, or is it that many? It feels like it, but we're definitely kind of progressing on. And yeah, I went to see it at the midnight screening. I know Mark went to see it this week. Mark, if you can give us your spoiler-free impressions of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, good job you're going second, actually. I have to say, I was really bored. Really bored. I felt like the film didn't progress anything. It didn't push the characters on. We know the characters already. It didn't do anything with them. There's this whole finding out about Peter's father. Obviously, Kurt Russell is in it. So there's a lot of scenes with them two. I was really disappointed. It felt like nothing was happening between them, even though Kurt Russell is acting his socks off in it.
It very much is. It's one of his best performances. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I felt like the CGI was pretty average. I mean, even if it's in its dark moments, the neons were nice, but it just didn't do anything. The opening fight I found was a little bit dull. The end fight was powder puff at its best. There was just seriously, I was so shocked coming out thinking, no,
Was that it?
Yeah, that was it. There was a couple of small bits I liked. I like the interaction between Nebula and Gamora, the relationship that's there, but it wasn't developed enough. That frustrated me. I liked Mantis as a character. I thought she was great. She was very funny in it. And I like to see Michael Rooker finally moved into a main character role. That's what I really liked that about it. The rest of it, I just did not enjoy at all. And also, one of the things that griped me the most was it felt like they had chosen the songs before they'd filmed the scenes. That was the worst thing for me. And I don't think the soundtrack is anywhere near as good as the first one. I can tell you 2 songs that I came away thinking, yeah, they were well placed. The rest of them were like melancholic 70s rubbish, like a B-side. Honestly, I know it sounds horrible, but I was so disappointed with this film. So disappointed.
Okay. I will come in with a slightly more positive attitude on this one. I rather enjoyed it. I will say, very much like Mark, I will feel that the story is actually rather slight. There's a protagonist, kind of elitist class that are featured as kind of like the engine that keeps prodding the story along. But even about the 3rd time that happens, you're thinking, okay, there's only so many times we can taser this story into kind of some kind of life. The great thing about it is that it looks amazing. I personally felt that the CG actually looked rather impressive, especially on one of the planet's scenarios, which the Guardians are taken to by Kurt Russell's character. I did quite like that attempt at the dynamic between trying to explain what Star-Lord's progeny is. I really thought that was a nice attempt to kind of explain what all that was all about and seen in the first volume. But in terms of the actual story, it just did feel a little bit light. I thought they know that every time that Baby Groot is on screen, he steals every single frame. They know that, and they did kind of overuse that a little bit. But I think the main issue for myself was, and it's more of a, like you say, a thing where with comedy and jokes and timing, and it's something that you either get right, or when it doesn't quite land, the jokes just kind of can collapse and deflate an entire scene. You can tell that there were some very obvious telegraphed jokes in this that were supposedly going to be the ones that got everyone rocking, but they just kind of like fall a little bit flat. There's some great scenes, including a cell escape with Michael Rooker, which I thought looked amazing, and I thought that was a nice, great. There's lots of nice little scenes, but there's nothing else holding the whole story together. I will also say that I personally say I thought it looked amazing. I thought it's some of the best use of the atmosphere and the locations. It felt big, even if the actual story progressed. Go on.
You realize that when somebody says it looks great, that's kind of a problem.
It's damning with faint praise, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But it's like Mark says. I mean, everyone involved is very clearly up for making the best, biggest story they can. It's just there's not a great deal of story there to go on with. It also is telling that this is a self-contained film. It bears no relevance whatsoever to the wider MCU. It makes no reference to the other parts of the MCU. It is completely self-contained. And that, if anything, that was a bold choice. But at the end of the day, people like the interconnectedness of all things, he says, referencing Douglas Adams. So yeah, if we're going to use that guy's name, if it was half as clever as it thought it was, you know what I mean? If it was half as smart as it thought it was, I'm not going to say it's not a ride. It's very much one hell of a ride, and I would personally recommend going to see it.
Andrew English agrees with you that he really enjoyed the show, was brilliant, and he's going to try and watch it again tomorrow.
I am going to go see it again because my mum wants to watch it. So I'm going to go to the cinema with my mum. So yeah, we're up for that. So no, I'm curious to see how it holds up on second viewing.
It way better choice of movies than mine. Who I had my mother watch Deadpool. Yeah.
Listen, my mum loves Deadpool.
Okay, so just sometimes yeah. Anyway, Michael P. Let's see. Andrew English watched the midnight screening also, and agrees with you. Groot stole the show. So I will watch that one. Andrew, he agrees about the music, and I'm personally really sorry.
There's a couple of songs. I mean, Brandy. Brandy, you're a good girl.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a song which, unless you know the song, I mean, I don't know if it's more of a prevalent song in the States, but here in the UK we don't know it. But I actually thought it was actually used rather well, especially in terms of dialogue, the way that it's used with.
If you lived through that time period, you knew that song.
Oh, there you go then. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, the two songs that absolutely stood out for me: opening credits with ELO, Mr. Brightside, and The Chain. But then again, The Chain just rocks. I'm just a massive Fleetwood Mac fan, so no, The Chain just kicks ass, and it works.
Andrew says that there's 5 extended scenes after the credits. 5?
Yes. Stick around. There's lots of little Easter eggs as well in the not peppered throughout the end credits as well. Admittedly, you're probably going to stick around for the sting at the end anyway, but there's basically these 5 scenes which are peppered throughout the end credits, just to kind of break it up, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't mind staying till the end of credits. You pay your money, you might as well enjoy it.
I'll tell you the one thing I quite liked about the midnight screening I went to, at least nobody stood up and walked out like bloody usual. You usually get a good half of an audience, and you just end up looking at them and going, newbies, what the hell is it? Yeah, come on. It's a Marvel film. You know how this works. But at least they stuck around for this one. They've learned their lesson.
Sam Payne says, I like that Mark was not too keen on the show. So yeah,
it's an honest opinion. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to go there and kind of lose my mind in a non-Fast and the Furious way, in a sort of hey, this is Marvel, this is entertaining. But I think Leonard was saying there, it navel gazes for too long. Far too long, and
I think
it got boring.
What we're seeing is the difference between somebody who's trained in film and somebody who enjoys the MCU.
Yeah,
that's if is more as an just enjoys to go to the movies and seeing the fantastic stuff, whereas Mark, you understand how a movie should progress more. And as I think
that kind of works for anybody, really. Anyone can see and feel when a film's not landing. And while, like I say, at the end of the screening that I was in, we all felt like we enjoyed the ride. But ultimately, it was a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, to quote a top screenwriter. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I enjoyed the ride, but I understand why a lot of people can feel frustrated about this film, because it ended up not really going a great distance. So
I'm interested to hear what everybody in the US thinks of it this weekend, basically. Yeah.
Let's see, Andrew English.
I'm just going to say, with your slightly negative review, Mark, you do realise you've lost a good 10 book sales.
I know, it's harmed the book, hasn't it? It really has. I
know. Let's see, Andrew English. I'm not going to say your idea about the post-credit scene, because I think that might be a spoiler. But apparently, there was somebody who was not in the film. I'll just leave that other there.
Oh. No, yeah. Like I say, I will say, the film is self-contained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't refer to the rest of the MCU. I will say that.
And I think that's a huge mistake on their part, but that's just me. Let's see. Andrew English goes on to say, Mother watches all the Marvel films with me at the cinema. And Angela is, I know that song. Brandy, I think, is what she's referring to. Yes, oh God. Yeah, if I could get one song out of my head, that would be the one, I think. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I was in high school during that.
When does it come out in the States? Is it this week, this Thursday, this Friday?
Free Comic Book Day.
Of course. We will be talking about that next week, of course.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things to talk about next week. The WGA, the Hotelpocalypse. You said we had a special guest on next week.
We do. Christopher Butcher from Toronto Comic Art Festival is going to be joining us to talk about the putting together of that very prestigious event. It's also paired up with the Lakes International Comic Art Festival, which I've mentioned on the show before, and that's where I met Christopher, because he was over with a number of the Canadian talent, and it's a very prestigious event, and I'm looking forward to talking to Christopher. I think it's going to be a fun chat.
We also going to be introducing a new segment, the Week in Comics.
Hopefully.
Is that a decision? Yes.
That's the hope. Yeah, that will take us over the 2.5 hour mark. Yes, as we I'm going to do my best to do a kind of recap of certainly 5 or 6 titles which I think are worth checking out in your comic book stores.
And the Week in Television. Absolutely. I do apologize for going on so long. Maybe we can put markers in, like, okay, if you're interested in Hotelpocalypse, start here.
Might be an idea.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Right, so yeah, let's wrap things up. Thank you very much indeed for sticking with us and indeed watching our extended episode this week. And thank you very much indeed to our guest. And thanks to hosting the show for today, Alyssa. Oh, I'm so tired. Alyssa, so thank you very much indeed for joining us. Where can people find you online?
Oh, okay, I'm going to remember that. Totally.
I'm sure you will. Yeah. Excuse me, you're the one that keeps forgetting names. I'm allowed to make just one.
But mine, people can find me on Twitter at Friends of CCI and on my site, friendsofcc.com.
Excellent stuff. Mark Searby, where can people find you, and where can people find this book of yours?
I'm on Twitter at Mark_Searby. I also have my website, marksearby.com, which has some of the information about this lovely book here. You can also find this lovely book on Amazon on a pre-order for 99 cents, 99p. Here it is. Look at that lovely book. It's very thick as well. Look how thick it is. Great. So yes, do pre-order now, and I look forward to hearing what everybody thinks to it in June.
Excellent stuff. And last but not least, we've had Michael Leventhal, his book is coming out this year as well. I've Got Your Downtown Hotel, and I'm Not Giving It Back. I'm looking forward to reading that. So that I think is going to be a fascinating read. So yeah, where can people find you, Michael?
I have all the downtown hotels, and I'm not giving them to anyone. People can find me at most places at MLLNY. That's Twitter, Friends of CC, and the site that I normally write for, highdefninja.com.
Aren't you doing a piece on the convention, that toy convention that you
Yes, when I finally catch up, I just finished my Star Wars articles. So those are at High Def Ninja now. I've got some pretty good stuff from the panels, show floor, cosplay, and I even did a nice Hasbro because they had a lot going on, as Leonard could attest, between the Thrawn figures, a lot of other figures, and the whole new Forces of Destiny, which is a whole new product line. So check High Def for that. And then like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, which felt like 2 hours ago, which it was, that there was a small toy fair called TTPM. It's Toys, Tots, Pets, and More. And it was this past Thursday, and it's kind of like a follow-up to Toy Fair. A lot of the big booths are there. Hasbro's there, Lego's there, Mattel is there, Spin Masters. But they just, instead of having a whole big booth set up, it's really just like a small little tabletop that they have. And if you've been at Toy Fair last year was my first year at them, but and they didn't have a lot of stuff that was new from Toy Fair, but actually surprisingly this year they had a lot of new stuff between Cars 3 and the Forces of Destiny stuff from Hasbro and a few other things.
And so you're going to do a write-up on that on the High Def Ninja site?
Eventually, yes. Hopefully in the next week or so I should have it up. I'm just between Star Wars Celebration and a work conference, I've been just a little bit slogging along, but
when will April be over? Absolutely. I'm totally there with you.
Yeah, and the hotel sales and ticket sales.
We're all there.
Yep. And the last point I will point out is, and there's another show that I'm very much looking forward to in the next month called 5 Points Festival. It's a 2-day small little show, and it just looks very interesting. If you're familiar with New York Comic-Con, just kind of think of the block area at New York Comic-Con: designer toys, vinyl, craft food, and craft beer. So it's going to be a small little show, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
I heard the word craft beer, and so am I. Cool, excellent stuff.
Karen,
thank you very much.
To wrap up, Karen Session says 2.5 hours. Yay! Andrew English says, I need a doorstop. And I think that's our cue.
I think that's our time to say goodnight. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you next week for a slightly shorter episode of Talking Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever's left of it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you guys for sticking with us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, and I actually have to hit the button. Uh-oh.
Yep.